How pack hunting changed evolution. Forever. For most of Earth's history, survival was simple. Be faster, be stronger, be tougher than whatever was chasing you. Life operated on a straightforward principle. If you couldn't escape or overpower, you didn't survive. But somewhere in the long stretch of evolutionary time, that principle began to crack. A new form of power appeared, one that didn't rely on claws, fangs, or raw strength. Cooperation, the ability to work together, coordinate attacks, and synchronize effort. And once predators began to hunt as a unit, the entire trajectory of evolution shifted. Suddenly, survival wasn't just about your individual body. It was about your ability to think collectively, to anticipate, to strategize, and to act in concert. This wasn't just hunting differently. This was the beginning of a revolution in how life fought, endured, and thrived. To understand the magnitude of this shift, we have to go back to a world dominated by lone hunters. Early theropods, large crocodiliforms, and even some mammal-like reptiles lived and died on their own merits. If a hunt failed, starvation was inevitable. If an injury occurred, there was no backup. Strength, speed, and brute resilience dictated life. Fossil evidence paints a picture of predators with enormous jaws, clawed limbs, and reinforced skeletons, creatures honed by millions of years of single animal survival. Individual prowess wasn't just advantageous, it was everything. Every evolutionary adaptation during that period, from massive serrated teeth to flexible spines, reflected this unrelenting pressure. The strongest survived, and the cleverest occasionally outmaneuvered, but there was no shared intelligence, no group strategy, no safety in numbers. And then, over millennia, subtle shifts began to appear in the fossil record. Small predators began appearing in clusters at kill sites. Bite marks indicated repeated harassment of single prey over extended periods. Tracks sometimes show multiple predators moving in parallel, approaching the same target from different angles. At first, these patterns could have been coincidental, but the more paleontologists examined them, the clearer it became that a new behavioral strategy was emerging. Predators that worked together, initially perhaps for scavenging or accidental collaboration, survived and thrived more often than their solitary counterparts. Evolution began to favor not only body size or claw strength, but patience, eye timing, and coordination. Predation was no longer purely physical, it had become tactical. Pack hunting introduced a terrifying new reality for prey animals. Suddenly, danger wasn't just a single predator to outrun or outmaneuver. It was a constantly shifting threat requiring complex decisions. Herds had to consider whether to flee or maintain formation, when to defend the weak and when to abandon them. Every action could tip the balance between life and death. And predators learned to exploit this. Fossilized kill sites show evidence of one predator engaging the target, while another approached from a blind flank, and yet another waited silently to intercept. This division of roles reduced the need for any single hunter to be the strongest or the fastest. Even an individual that might have been weaker than the prey could contribute meaningfully to the hunt if it followed the coordinated strategy. Over time, this led to an unprecedented advantage. Predators could bring down prey larger than themselves, recover from failures, and persist through repeated attempts without expending unsustainable energy. The consequences of pack hunting went far beyond immediate survival. It reshaped the very evolutionary pressures acting on predators and prey alike. For predators, intelligence became increasingly valuable. Observational skills, memory, and learning were rewarded. Communication became a vital tool. Signals to coordinate attacks, warnings to prevent injury, cues to adjust timing. Hunters that could anticipate the actions of prey and of fellow pack members had a distinct edge. This created an evolutionary feedback loop. As intelligence in hunters increased, prey animals were forced to evolve better strategies to counter them. Herd animals developed sophisticated social behaviors, from coordinated movements to intricate warning calls and visual signals. Even seemingly simple gestures like positioning juveniles in the center of a group were the product of selective pressure created by predators operating as units. The battleground of life had shifted from muscle and claw to mind and strategy. Evidence of this evolutionary shift isn't restricted to dinosaurs. Over millions of years, pack hunting influenced entire ecosystems. Mammals, centuries later, would inherit the principle. Wolves, lions, and hyenas learned to hunt collectively, applying the same lessons of coordination, role division, and persistence. Birds, too, display collaborative hunting in some species, demonstrating that the roots of social predation stretch deep into evolutionary history. The lineage that would eventually lead to humans was shaped by this same logic. Group cooperation allowed for the management of risk, sharing of resources, and the ability to tackle challenges that would overwhelm any lone individual. In essence, pack hunting didn't just create successful predators, it rewrote the rules of life itself. But perhaps the most profound consequence of this behavioral revolution lies in how it affected evolutionary timing. Before coordinated hunting, adaptations occurred slowly and incrementally. A stronger bite or a more flexible spine could mean life or death, and advantageous mutations were tested individually. With packs, a success became a combination of intelligence, communication, and environmental awareness. Mutations that allowed animals to perceive group dynamics, coordinate attacks, or maintain herd cohesion suddenly conferred a survival advantage. Evolution accelerated in subtle but powerful ways, favoring species capable of social thought, planning, and anticipation. The rise of social predators marked a tipping point in Earth's history. The arms race was no longer simply body against body. It was strategy against strategy, mind against mind. And over time, these pressures would sculpt some of the most complex behaviors observed in any animal lineage. Long before modern ecosystems emerged, the earliest cooperative hunters began to impose pressure on their prey in subtle but profound ways. So herds that had survived millennia of predation now faced threats not from a single predator, but from a network of minds acting in unison. Fossil trackways show parallel paths of multiple theropods converging on the same target, suggesting that even 70 million years ago, predators understood the advantages of coordination. While one animal distracted, another approached from behind, and a third could block escape routes. This wasn't random chaos, it was strategy, honed over generations. Each failed hunt taught lessons that were passed down genetically and behaviorally, slowly altering the survival calculus for both predator and prey. In effect, pack hunting rewrote the rulebook of life in ways that would resonate for eons. As packs became more sophisticated, communication became indispensable. Predators needed ways to signal position, see intent, and timing without alerting prey prematurely. Some species likely used vocalizations, calls, or even body language to orchestrate attacks. The complexity required for these behaviors would have favored larger brains, sharper sensory perception, and quicker decision-making. Intelligence, once a secondary trait, now became central to survival. Predators capable of anticipating the actions of both prey and fellow hunters gained an evolutionary edge. In turn, prey evolved counter-strategies: acute hearing, rapid reflexes, and enhanced group coordination. The arms race between hunter and hunted shifted from brute force to cognition, setting the stage for the remarkable social behaviors we see in modern animals. Pack hunting also altered the energy economy of predation. Lone hunters were forced to expend tremendous energy on pursuit, or ambush and combat, often risking injury that could prove fatal. But a coordinated pack could achieve the same results with reduced individual effort. One predator could tire the prey, another could block escape, while others observed for weaknesses or openings. Fossils show evidence of repeated harassment patterns on bones, consistent with prolonged group attacks rather than instantaneous kills. This method not only increased hunting efficiency, but also reduced risk to each individual. Over evolutionary time, this efficiency favored social structures, role specialization, and even rudimentary planning, skills that would become hallmarks of some of the most successful predators in history. The ecological consequences of pack hunting extended far beyond predator-prey interactions. Prey populations were forced to alter migration patterns, our feeding grounds, and social structures. Herd sizes fluctuated in response to predation pressure, while individuals that could detect and respond to coordinated threats were more likely to survive and reproduce. This created a feedback loop in which intelligence, alertness, and communication were constantly selected for. Predators that could maintain cohesion and strategic discipline were more successful, and their prey had to evolve in parallel. Pack hunting thus reshaped not only species but entire ecosystems, influencing vegetation, water access, and even interspecific competition among predators. Perhaps the most fascinating outcome of pack hunting was its effect on evolutionary speed. In a world where survival depended on coordination rather than sheer strength, traits like social awareness, communication, and problem-solving became highly advantageous. Mutations that improved these capacities were rapidly selected for, accelerating cognitive evolution. Prey species faced similar pressures, evolving enhanced group behaviors and complex social dynamics to counter multi-predator strategies. Over time, the selection pressure for intelligence and adaptability began to rival and sometimes exceed that for physical traits like size or armor. The battlefield had shifted from brute force to strategic thinking, a paradigm that echoes across millions of years of life. Pack hunting also created opportunities for niche specialization. Within a coordinated group, individuals could adopt specialized roles: drivers, blockers, flankers, or observers. Many fossil evidence suggests that some theropod species may have developed morphological adaptations reflecting these roles, such as differences in limb structure or claw morphology. Similarly, prey species evolved counter-strategies, with some individuals acting as sentinels, others as protectors of juveniles, and still others focused on rapid escape. The interplay between predator specialization and prey adaptation created a dynamic evolutionary landscape where intelligence, strategy, and social cohesion were more decisive than raw physical power. Finally, the legacy of pack hunting stretches far beyond the age of dinosaurs. Mammalian predators, birds, and even human ancestors inherited these principles. Wolves, lions, hyenas, and dolphins demonstrate that coordinated hunting remains one of the most successful strategies in nature. See groups learn, communicate, and exploit collective knowledge to achieve what a single predator could never accomplish alone. The rise of pack hunters illustrates a profound truth. Survival is not merely about being the strongest. It is about understanding, anticipating, and working together. The first social predators transformed evolution itself, proving that in life and in survival, cooperation can be a weapon more powerful than tooth, claw, or talon. Finally, the legacy of pack hunting is not just biological, it is ecological. Prey populations had to adapt not only physically but socially. Herd sizes changed, migration patterns shifted, vigilance became a critical skill. Ecosystems reorganized around the presence of coordinated predators, creating cascading effects on vegetation, river crossings, nesting grounds, and even competition between predator species. Predators and prey became locked in an unending cycle of adaptation, each shaping the other's evolution. Pack hunting was not merely a tactic, it was a force capable of steering entire ecosystems, altering evolutionary pathways, and setting the stage for the complex social and ecological networks that would dominate life on Earth long after the last dinosaur fell. Pack hunting didn't create the strongest predators. It created the most adaptable ones. It rewrote the rules of survival and shifted the battlefield from brute force to collective intelligence. It shaped the evolution of communication, cooperation, and social awareness in ways that echo across millions of years of life. The dinosaurs that learned to hunt together taught the world a lesson still evident in wolves, orcas, lions, and humans. Success in a dangerous world often depends not on being the biggest, the fastest, or the fiercest, but on knowing how to act as one. And in the next story, we'll see how intelligence itself became a weapon, capable of changing life's trajectory far more profoundly than any claw, tooth, or talon ever could.